For its 2015 spring exhibition, Fabrica is delighted to be showing Dawn Chorus by Marcus Coates in a co-presentation with Brighton Festival. Dawn Chorus is an immersive 14-screen installation for which people were filmed recreating birdsong. The result is an extraordinary work that puts visitors at the heart of this natural phenomenon.
Dawn Chorus really came about because of my fascination with birdsong, really. I mean, ever since I was a kid. And what birdsong represents for us, more than just a beautiful sound, more than just a romantic melody. What are the birds actually doing when they're singing? What are they trying to communicate? And the more I found out about birdsong, the more I understood that it's actually a proxy for fighting. It's actually a form of violence in a way. The male birds are really trying to establish their territory, and they're doing that by saying, I'm much harder than you, don't come in my territory. But it's also a serenade to the female birds. So they're trying to encourage potential mates and keep their mates by singing, and also stimulate them into egg laying. So it's a very powerful thing for them. So I like that double-edged functionality, really, of birdsong. I was playing with this technique, really, of slowing down and speeding up birdsong. On the editing software I have for film, you can slow sound down. When I slowed I think it was a blackbird down, I mean, normal speed it sounds like, roughly. And then when I got it to about 20 times slower, it sounded like, and it sounded really quite human. And it not only lowered the tone, but lengthened it as well. So where you'd hear one single bird tweet, or two perhaps, actually when you slowed it down, it revealed all this music in there that we can't actually hear because it's too fast for us. So it was like uncovering this hidden music. But then bringing it down lower, it brought it into the realm of my voice, and I started to sing along to it. It was almost like a sort of contemporary jazz. And then I recorded myself doing that. And I thought, well, if I speed my voice up doing that, will that sound like the bird? And it did. It sounded exactly like the bird. And this was a sort of a eureka moment for me. This was, oh my Lord, I can actually become a bird. And it really fitted in with the whole philosophy of my work, which was really about attempting to become animal. And here I am with technology actually achieving it. It was quite remarkable. Firstly, I realised this was going to be a monumental project. And secondly, the funding. I had to get a lot of funding for it. And thirdly, I needed the expertise really to help. One of these things came through meeting Jeff Sample. He is a renowned wildlife sound recordist. And meeting him was like kind of meeting an idol, really. And I started to talk to him about this project and how it could be done. And that really made concrete the idea that it could be done. So then we hired a camper van and a 24-track digital recorder, loads of batteries, and stocked up with food, and went out and basically camped at these different sites. In the evening, we'd set 14 microphones out, and that took a few hours. Just placing microphones where we thought birds would be singing. So the idea was to record each bird individually. And this had never ever been done before. And then we fed all these wires back into the camper van. And we got up at 2 in the morning, well Jeff normally did, I was sort of perched over my out of my sleeping bag. And we just turned it on, and all this amazing sound came through our headphones. With the individual microphones, we could pick each one and see what was going on each microphone. So you got a whole sense, a bigger sense than this mass sound. We could actually dissect this sound. And that's when it really starts to reveal this sort of magical hidden music, really. And I took all those recordings down to Bristol, and we visited, I can't remember how many choirs, but so many amateur choirs. And I basically went to their rehearsals and I said, who wants to sing like a bird? And everyone put their hands up. So we were inundated really with people who wanted to participate. And then I really held auditions. So I had to match up each species of bird with the type of singer who would be good at doing that bird. This piece is not just about reflecting or recreating this natural phenomena. It's about talking about human society as well and human culture. I said to people, where do you spend your time? And the singer's saying, well, most of the time in the office, or I like to sit in the bath a lot, or I spend a lot of time in the car. So we went to all these places that were hopefully quite quiet. And we filmed them. And they had a little earpiece, you can't see in the film, and they sang along to this bird song for up to 2 hours. So they're sitting there quite sort of almost hypnotised by this sound. It was quite hard to film actually because it lasted so long, but it almost seemed like they went somewhere else with it. It was quite interesting. But they basically sat there going, "Whoa," depending on what the bird was, or whatever it was. And I knew we were going to get, the sound was going to be accurate. But what was quite remarkable, and what I'd found a little bit before, but even more so in this sense, was that people's motion and their movement became quite bird-like. And then the idea was to take all these films of these people singing birds and represent each person on a screen in the space in positions that roughly mimicked the space of the birds in the woodland. So each microphone that we had in the wood is now represented by a screen and a person singing that bird song. So you walk around and all the screens at different levels, different heights, just as the microphones were. And it lasts 20 minutes and you can walk through it over and over again and have this sense that, yeah, I can re-experience this phenomenon that before was just this fleeting thing. More than anything, it's about trying to have this repeatable, phenomenal experience, I suppose. Yeah. It's really exciting showing the work at Fabrica because I've very rarely shown it in this 14-screen way, because it's so rare that a venue has this scale, firstly. It feels like it's a kind of, some people talk about the forest being like a cathedral. I think in that sense there is that sort of analogy with the church and the woodland, perhaps. There's also something about the functionality of the old church, or what the church was, and what you did when you went to church. It was a listening and a singing space, and the idea of expressing that stuff, which was pretty spiritual. And I'm not saying this birdsong is spiritual, but I think there is an openness when you walk into a building like that. It disarms you. I think it takes away perhaps the necessity for you to be rational and to judge things in that way. So I like that. You're receptive much more in a space like Fabrica, I think, to being consumed and being overwhelmed by this sound. And rather than standing there and in a way deciding what it is, in a way it's quite a lot about it deciding what you are and having that relationship with it, which is good.